I look at my obsession as both a gift and a curse. You want to get up every day to better understand this one thing, but you know full well that at the end of the day, you're still never good enough. It's a cycle which builds you up and then throws you down over and over again. Because I love music so much, I never thought it was possible to have a destructive relationship with it, but I realized I did. Making this record was a big part of learning to change that. I grew up in a musical household with a lot of structure. Practice before school, after school, Saturday music school, chamber music, orchestra. Playing classical music wasn't something that interested me hugely at the time, but when I was about 14, started playing bass, got interested in jazz, hip-hop, funk, R&B. Suddenly music was freedom and expression and not structure. I loved beats, maybe because having a beat was what really distinguished the music I'd been made to do from the music I chose. I loved to just listen. I'd spend hours every day in my room just listening. When I was 16, I decided to learn jazz piano. And when I was 18, I somehow managed to get into the Guildhall. At the time, it felt like my life was moving in the right direction. Practice has always been a kind of sanctuary for me. I think that more than performing or recording music, the practice is what makes music a way of life. When I arrived at Guildhall to study jazz, I suddenly didn't have the structure that had always been there when I was at home. I was just one musician in a sea of musicians, which was intimidating. I didn't have the maturity or the strength to thrive in that environment. After a year, I quit and went home. For a long time, that's something that gave me shame and guilt when I thought about it. When you're faced with your own objective failure, it puts a seriousness into you. For me, it put a big chip on my shoulder. When I came back to London and decided I wanted to pursue music, I wanted to make a point of being the guy that works as hard as possible, takes it the most seriously, sacrifices the most, and doesn't cut corners. My only goal was to be a better musician, and I knew instinctively that by having that approach, I would eventually get the notice I deserved, and on my own terms. It definitely wasn't a healthy way to live, because every other aspect of my life suffered, but it was important for my development. It was during that time I got involved with Unit 31. Unit 31 was a warehouse space in East London which evolved into a grassroots venue. We all loved hip-hop, and by hosting the Salt Peanuts Cypher we built a following of young, open-minded, artistic people. Having that following gave me a sense that we could develop the music program, and at its height, you could come and hear the music of Tchaikovsky, John Coltrane, Tribe Called Quest. We might be collaborating with one of our favourite artists. It was an amazing opportunity and a very effective team. And having been a part of that is something I'll always be grateful for. At this point, it would be remiss of me not to mention Ty. To hear of his passing was such a shock. When someone has such a powerful presence the way Ty did, it's hard to accept that they could ever be sick or vulnerable. I grew up listening to his music, as a lot of us did, but to me, a big part of his legacy is the effect that he had on many of the performers at Salt Peanuts. I saw it over and over again. A person coming up on stage for the first time, singing too softly, looking at their feet, he'd stop the music and confront them, tell them to stand up straight, sing into the microphone properly. Before long, that person would be as confident as anything. These are the kind of experiences that stay with you for life, and I have no doubt that Ty will live on in our collective memory for many years to come. Putting a record out during lockdown has been an interesting experience. When I realised I was going to lose all of my music work, I knew I needed to get a job quick. I ended up a cleaner at Homerton Hospital. That might sound awful to some people, but to be honest, I enjoyed it. Not the work necessarily, but I never really felt like a part of society before. As musicians, we get so wrapped up in our artistic endeavours, sometimes you honestly forget the world keeps turning outside of that. I realise now that's not a way I want to live. Community, family, physical health, mental well-being, these are all things I need before music in order to truly appreciate it. I want this record to serve as a reminder of that.